In July of 2013, Joshua Haney suffered a heroin overdose in his bathroom. It was his second overdose. His father found him.
Yeah, I was standing right beside him because I'm the one that dragged him out of the bathroom when he was just unconscious. And, he was breathing real slowly, but he was passed out. So, it's like he was sleeping and couldn't hold his head up or anything. So, I set him right there where you're at on that chair until they got here. And they shot him up with that. And he started coming around real slowly like he was coming out of a dream.
Narcan saved your life those first two times?
Yeah, Narcan did save my life.
When injected into a vein, heroin quickly passes the blood-brain barrier and is broken down into morphine. These molecules then bind primarily to opiate receptors in the brain. This results in what is described as a rush of euphoria, pain relief, and calmness. When opiate receptors reach a certain level of saturation, overdose occurs. An overdose is most commonly marked by a lack of breathing, which eventually leads to a fatal hypoxia. In other words, the user suffocates to death. At this point, the user can only be revived with an agent that neutralizes the effects of opiate intoxication. Naloxone, most popularly branded as Narcan, is more strongly attracted to opiate receptors than opiate molecules, but does not activate receptors. This effectively blocks opiate absorption, thereby canceling all opiate effects, both positive and negative. Naloxone starts working in 2 to 5 minutes, depending on whether it is injected into a muscle or vein, or administered via intranasal spray. The effects of naloxone usually last 30 to 60 minutes and may require multiple doses to stabilize the user.
Stan and Robin Cartages are still grieving over the death of their 20-year-old son, Stephen. The Eagle Scout fell unconscious after injecting heroin in the back of a car in August 2012.
My son's dead. He put the needle in his arm. It would have been no big deal for somebody to take him to the hospital. I still don't understand why they didn't do that.
The couple says 3 of her son's friends who were arrested for drug possession told police they didn't call 911 or rush Stephen to a nearby hospital out of fear of being charged. The couple is promoting an online petition that asked the Georgia legislature...
In spring of 2013, a group of parents whose children had died of overdoses came to Georgia legislative aide Justin Leaf, hoping to get a medical amnesty bill passed. The bill granted immunity to those seeking help during an overdose and protection to those who administered naloxone.
Help them, get them to the hospital.
If that 911 law had existed in the state of Georgia at the time, his death could have been prevented.
I would spend a day with them. The parents trained them how to be a lobbyist. I would kind of they would shadow me, the little things about how to, in a 2-second, real 50-second conversation, a minute conversation with the legislator, how to get your message across and not be overbearing. Be very brief. Don't get up there and start crying, because as soon as you show emotion, unfortunately, you're tuned out.
Because prosecutors had reservations about dealers and people with large quantities of illegal substances getting amnesty, the bill was changed to exclude those groups and instead stressed that the person overdosing and their rescuer had to be consuming together for amnesty to apply. After finding a sponsor, researching, lobbying, and drafting the bill, the 2014 Georgia legislature passed the 911 Medical Amnesty Bill on April 24th.
The legislators also, I think, a lot of them, even the ones that are kind of the typical rural Georgia, you'd kind of think, the good old boy network, when you look at them, in committee, they were actually rather receptive. And they kind of said, if this is my kid, this is what I would want to have happen. So I think people were very open to the idea. As far as next steps, it would be just community outreach, inform people of how the bill works, what the provisions are.
Both the Atlanta Harm Reduction Coalition and the Georgia Overdose Prevention Organization educate others and distribute kits.
Okay. So this is the arm. You just start it in there and then squirt the medicine. Although it doesn't want to go in this apple. That's why I want my orange. Oh, it's coming out. The thing is, though, because these are such long needles, unless you have a very hefty person, you're not going to need to use every bit of that all the way in, or you're going to be up against their bone, and then it's going to be really hard to push it in. If you mistakenly do that, you can just pull it back a little bit till you're off the bone. Remove it. You've got a cap.
The next focus is to have rehabilitation centers carry and distribute kits, and to increase the number of schools and police departments now using naloxone.
So most officers keep the Narcan. See, right there's mine.
400 Cherokee, I'm 10-813.
Police officers are often the first responders, beating paramedics and firefighters to the scene. Police in Georgia are now allowed to carry naloxone and won't be held liable if they have to administer naloxone.
I've seen officers where, before our Narcan was here, not just here, but other departments, where they stood there and actually had to watch this person go into cardiac arrest and respiratory arrest, starting CPR, because they didn't have the means or the tools to do anything. But now we got this tool and they can actually see the change. It's amazing.
So, unfortunately, data in this sense isn't something where it's metadata where you can quantify everything. It's more of, is the bill doing what it should? And I think that's where a lot of the more conservative Republicans here in the state were saying, is this just a feel-good bill? I heard that phrase thrown out a lot, feel-good bill. I feel pretty good about saving 200 plus lives, so it's a pretty dumb criticism in my mind.